Welcome to the year-end municipal update with your city administrator, Steve Volker. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
We have some topics that I'd like to discuss and let our viewers be informed. And let's start out with the budget and taxes going out.
Yeah, so every October we present the budget to the council. They actually have their first review in October, and then the second one is the first meeting in November. This is all based on state statutes as to when you have to do this. Also, the fact is we do it in early November so that we can get all the information out to the county in time for them to print the taxes. So the county prints the taxes and sends them out. And so they were sent out, and I believe everyone got them probably early the week of December 15th, somewhere around there. That will vary year to year. Sometimes people remember it coming right around Christmas time for the holidays. We jokingly say that. Sometimes they come early December because, again, if everyone approves it early in November, they have about 3 weeks to get them all put together at the county level, and then they print and send it out. It wasn't always like this. The county wasn't always the group that printed taxes, but they recently took that over the last couple of years. And so, again, everyone got those and go from there. Now, the mill rate that helps to decide what your taxes are, it's actually your taxes are based on two things: your assessed value of your property. Did that go up or down? With the economy as it is, almost everyone's assessed value went up, but not necessarily. It could be exactly the same because it's based on assessed value and not equalized value, and I'll explain what the difference is. But then also that's multiplied times the mill rate. The mill rate is the total cost of all assessed properties, and that's divided by, again, per dollar. Per $1,000 of equalized value. And so that's how the mill rate is created. Now, the mill rate that was approved at the November City Council meeting was $4.56 in Washington County. That is the lowest it has been in history, going back well before the 1970s. We don't even have documentation before that as far as what the mill rate is. But it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because as more people broaden that tax base, the cost for those services, as long as it doesn't stay equal to the growth, the cost per person will actually go down, and that's what we're seeing right now. So the mill rate has gone down to, again, that number this year was $4.56 for those in Washington County.
Okay. And I had asked you before we went on camera, what does the mill actually mean?
Yeah, so mill rate, again, is rate per thousand, rate per thousand. So if your house is a $200,000 house, it's 200 times the mill rate.
Okay.
So let me go back to, as I mentioned, your assessed value and your equalized value, because those will both show up on your tax bill. Okay. So the assessed value is what Hartford assessors, which would be your building assessor that the city pays to have assessed your house. That will be one value. Let's just say your house is $200,000 assessed. But the exact same house, the exact same age, and the quality of the improvements inside are exactly the same as another house in Oconomowoc, in West Bend, in Milwaukee. Then they want to make sure they all have the same value. That's called the equalized value. So no matter where your house is,
Yep.
the equal value is this. So your assessed value and your equalized value should be really relatively close. Matter of fact, the state says it has to be within 10% either way,
Okay.
high or low of the equalized value. Now, if it goes beyond 10%, over or under, then the state says, all right, you've got 2 years to correct this situation. And if the next year it's still 10% above or below, they say, now you got 1 year to change the situation. And then the last time, the third year, they'll say, okay, you still have a problem. They slap you on the wrist. They don't give you a fine yet. But they say, all right, you have to do a reval. And that's when we go around and we go through your properties, walk around the property, but just simply oversee and look at, wait a second, where was Sally's house at this time? But where's the market gone?
Yeah.
Now, we've seen the market has gone up easily 10% in 3 years. So your house
Huh.
has gone up in value over 10% in less than 3 years. That just shows you where the market's going right now. And of course, the cost to build homes has dramatically gone up. So
Yes.
kind of an interesting fact. So if
It
you ever
is.
wonder,
It is.
if the house that I'm putting all this money into, is it actually improving in value? Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, but thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
The stormwater utility starts in January.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the city?
Yeah, so it's one of the things it does is it makes the stormwater independent of the levee. So it allows us to fluctuate costs involved in stormwater to a utility, to its own kind of pool of money. So we took it off the levy, off your taxes. That's why one of the reasons the taxes went down, or the mill rate went down, and puts us into a monthly fee to add to your utilities. So it'll be $4 and I think 90 something cents. So just under $5 is added to your monthly utility bills. And then you'll show that on your first bill coming in January. And it'll say your stormwater utility $5 or four something, 490 I think it was. But so that will again go as its own account, and it only can be used on stormwater.
Okay. And then finally, the winter parking permits have changed.
Yeah.
And what changes are going to be happening?
Yeah, so let's just go over the rules that were put into place in 2023 for 24. You can no longer park on, or you have never been able to park on a street during the winter times, from December 1st through April 1st. All communities have something of this nature, right?
Right.
And so, but what we did is we changed, we said, okay, because we had so many people say, wait a second, I need a place to park because I've got 6 vehicles and only 2 parking stalls in my driveway, or a 1-car garage, or what the deal is, right? So we created a permit in which you could purchase a permit for the whole season, which is all 4 months, December, January, February, March. And then it allows you put the permit tag in your car, and then when an officer drives by between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., and they see that you have a tag, you're fine. Now, the situation is that this year what changed was for those people who only need the permit for like a month, because your kids are coming back from college, they're only here for a month during winter break, they can then just get a 1-month pass, and then be allowed to again park on on a street. Also, a reminder that if you don't have a pass, but you still need to park off of your driveway, out of your garage, that kind of thing, there are locations throughout the city in which there's emergency parking during storm situations. So those would be like Woodlawn Park parking lot. There's the street side parking alongside of Independence. There's street side parking alongside of Lincoln Elementary / the VMAC on Main Street there, on South Main. There's also the parking lots now in Centennial Park. These are all areas in which people can park temporarily overnight when we have a snow emergency to get their vehicle off the street so they can be plowed.
Why is there not the ability for a low snow season to park on the street if it's not going to be snowing?
That's a great question. Last year we had a very snowy winter for 3 days, right? And then, why can't we just park when it's not snowing? It's because there's no way to communicate with somebody after they parked there, and Sally decides she's going to park there overnight like she always does. Oh, but then you're going on a trip. You didn't know that the snow was about to come, and all of a sudden we get hit with 9 inches, right? Your car is still on the street. So there's no way for us to communicate. You can't email people. You can't text people. There's just no way to have that kind of centralized communication. And so having just some means by which, if you were going to be gone and you need to park up, you could park in those emergency areas, things like that.
What are the steps taken if the individual never removes their car?
Yeah, so the first thing they'll do is they'll be receiving a nice little tag on the car, which is a ticket. And if it continues to be a problem, it will be towed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we obviously we never want to do that, and no community wants to do that. Every community deals with the same thing. Every
Sure.
community. You see how in Milwaukee, as an example, the news will do a story about, they had to tow 280 vehicles that day. Well, who
Yeah.
wants to do that?
Right, right.
You just really upset 280
Yeah.
people at least, right?
Right.
That's not what we're here about, but we need to clear and keep the roads safe, because we need emergency vehicles to get up and down that road. We need other people that need to get up and down the road to be able to do so. So yeah, it's impossible. There's no other perfect way to do that.
I think in our summer municipal update, we talked about where people are parking their cars on their property. And what if they're parking their cars in their front yard?
Yeah, small
In the
problem. The situation is that vehicles are only supposed to be parked on impervious surfaces. So in other words, surfaces in which cannot readily absorb chemicals. Your car is full of chemicals. You got gasoline, you got oil, you got antifreeze, you got power brake fluid. You got so you have all these different chemicals that if they got into the groundwater seeping through the grass and grassy areas, are going to cause havoc on your water system, right? And so that's why the big thing is to keep vehicles off of your front yards and things like that, so that again we don't create a problem in the future.
So during the winter, that's why
Yeah.
I'm asking that. People
Yeah.
will do that and they'll park.
Oh yeah.
And so what happens then? What's that repercussion?
Same thing. Again, just like if you parked it in the summertime, it's a little more difficult sometimes for us to identify, because if they park on their front yard, we don't know if underneath all that snow,
Right.
there is a concrete pad, unless you have photogenic memory of when the last time you saw that front yard. But the situation is that if we see it happening, and usually they're not so secretive about it. I mean, they've got their pickup truck parked diagonally across their front yard.
Right.
The other thing too to keep in mind as a firefighter, a vehicle in a yard in which you have a fire could be a major detriment to getting to that house and addressing a fire in that situation. So
Absolutely, an emergency, and if you need
Yeah.
to get a cot out of the ambulance and trying to get it in that front door, I can't say enough about keeping egresses clear.
yeah, absolutely. So it's all a part of it,
Okay.
and nobody likes it. For every person who does it, I've got 10 other neighbors who are calling us and complaining.
Yeah.
My neighbor's got his pickup truck parked across his front yard. That's illegal, isn't it? Yes, it's illegal. We'll go talk to him, or we'll send him a letter. That kind of stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know as we're closing out and the budget's been approved? And
We just remember that there's two ways in which you could pay taxes, two different time periods. You could pay it all up front, and that time period ends January 31st, or you could pay in installments. And again, the first installment is made here at City Hall. Second installment is made at the county. That's completely up to you as to which direction you go. We find that actually majority of people, probably 70% of the people, will pay all their taxes up front, and they pay them before December 31st, because then you can use it as a tax write-off on your taxes. But we don't determine that. We're not attorneys here. But again, that's what we find most people will actually do, they pay their taxes in December.
okay.
And
that payment can be made in person, through the mail,
yeah.
or online.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, stop on by. Right now, you see a couple of people filter in every once in a while. The lines are not long in early December, but the last week in December, that's when we'll have a lineup out the door, so to speak, to pay your taxes. So make sure to stop on by when it's convenient for you, but also when it's easier to get in and out.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in, Steve.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, as always, thank you for watching.